After trading for Russell Wilson, protecting our franchise quarterback will be key. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Sparkin Over Broncos Podcast, the show where we spark conversation about our Denver Broncos. I am your host, Gage Madrid. The Denver Broncos have been struggling to fill the right tackle position ever since Orlando Franklin made the transition from right tackle to left guard in the 2014 season. It is widely known about the Broncos' carousel at quarterback since the retirement of Peyton Manning. That carousel, of course, finally coming to a stop with the Russell Wilson trade. But the even bigger carousel for the Broncos has been at the right tackle position. Since 2013, the Broncos have started a whopping 20 different players at the right tackle position. Broncos general manager George Paton knows the team is going to need to do everything within their power to find the long-term solution at right tackle this offseason. That being said, that is going to be way easier said than done in a league starved for quality offensive tackle play. While it is very possible that the Denver Broncos look to re-sign veteran incumbent Bobby Massey at the right tackle position, on today's episode of Sparkin Over Broncos, we will preview some veteran offensive tackles that could be available should the Broncos look to move on from Massey. We will preview some guys who could be available via free agency as well as the trade market to help protect our quarterback Russell Wilson. But before we get into that, a couple of housekeeping matters to attend to. We are trying to grow this community and include as many people in the conversation as possible, so a like on this video would be greatly appreciated. It would really help out a ton. Also, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. I would love to interact with you. And speaking of interactions, go ahead and give me a follow on Twitter at Gage Madrid NFL for more coverage of our Denver Broncos as well as the NFL in general. And with that out of the way, let's get into the rest of the video. So here I have 5 offensive tackles who are scheduled to be free agents that the Denver Broncos could look to sign in the event that they do not re-sign Bobby Massey. Now, in the left-hand column, I have the player name and their previous team. I have their age entering the 2022 season. I have their projected annual earnings according to Pro Football Focus. In the second to last column, I have their Pro Football Focus blocking grades for the 2021 season, and I always like to stress this. Pro Football Focus isn't the end-all be-all in player evaluation. You definitely want to watch the tape to get the full picture, but Pro Football Focus grades are a useful tool to look at to give us a larger sample size. Now first up we have Morgan Moses, formerly of the New York Jets. Now Moses was a former third-round pick by the Washington football team in 2014, and he played as predominantly a swing tackle in his rookie year, but in his sophomore year he was named Washington's starting right tackle. He can be up and down in pass blocking, but he tends to be very solid in the run blocking game. He's played in a West Coast scheme essentially his entire career, so there would be a ton of scheme carryover to the new scheme that Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett and offensive coordinator Justin Outen will be running. According to Pro Football Focus, Moses' worst season since becoming a starter was 2018, where he posted an overall blocking grade of 64.4, which ranked 55th out of 80 eligible tackles. So even Moses' worst season since becoming a starter was among the mediocre tier of tackles in the league. After 7 seasons in Washington, Moses signed a 1-year deal with the New York Jets to be their starting right tackle in 2021. Moses did have a decent season for the Jets overall. He posted a mediocre pass blocking grade of 65.7, which ranked 48 out of 80 eligible tackles, but he was solid in the run game, posting a 74.9 run blocking grade, which was good for 21st out of 79 eligible tackles. Moses will be entering his age 31 season next year, and Pro Football Focus has him projected to make $7.5 million on the open market. Moses is likely to have a robust market as he is among the top right tackles available in this year's free agency class. The NFL is starved of competent tackle play, so I imagine Moses will be overpaid for his services on the open market. So I feel that $7.5 million projection may be a tad low. He may command somewhere closer to $9 to $10 million. Moses would fit this scheme well, but I feel the much better move from a value perspective is to re-sign Bobby Massey, who is scheduled to command way less on the open market, and to potentially draft a mid-round tackle and develop him. Morgan Moses is a duct tape solution much like Bobby Massey, and I would much rather sign the duct tape solution who we are already familiar with and who is going to bring similar production as Morgan Moses while costing a bunch less money. Moses is in line to secure a pretty decent bag, but if I'm George Paton, I'm going to let another team give it to him. Next up, we have Riley Reiff, formerly of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Reiff was a former first-round pick by the Detroit Lions in 2012, and he became their starting left tackle in 2013. Following 4 very solid seasons in Detroit, Reiff signed a 5-year, $58.75 million deal with the Minnesota Vikings in the 2017 offseason, so of course there is familiarity there with Broncos general manager George Paton. Although he didn't play as well as he did in Detroit, and he didn't really live up to the magnitude of his deal in Minnesota, he did at least bring above-average tackle play. Reiff's best season with the Vikings came in 2018, where he posted an overall blocking grade of 74.1, which was good for 26th out of 80 eligible tackles. Reiff was released by the Vikings as a cap casualty following the 2020 season, and he signed with the Cincinnati Bengals on a 1-year deal and was named their starting right tackle for the 2021 season. Prior to signing with the Bengals, Reiff had exclusively played left tackle in the NFL, and let's just say the transition to right tackle didn't go super fantastic. Although Reiff was an above-average run blocker in 2021, posting a 70 run blocking grade, which was good for 34th out of 79 eligible tackles, he was way below average as a pass blocker, posting a poor grade of 58.4, which was 66th out of 80 eligible tackles. Reiff has also had durability concerns over the course of his career, only playing in 2 complete seasons, and unfortunately 2021 was no exception to that rule. Reiff was hampered down the stretch by an ankle injury, only playing in 12 games before being shut down for the remainder of the season and being placed on the IR. The Bengals, of course, now entered the 2021 offseason in position to completely rebuild their offensive line after what happened to them in the Super Bowl, a la the Kansas City Chiefs. As a result of this, Reiff is not likely to return to Cincinnati and is scheduled to hit the open market. He now enters free agency with multiple questions about his durability as well as his overall play last season. He'll be entering his age 33 season next year, and PFF has him projected to make $7 million next year on the open market. Personally, I feel that number may be a bit high, as I feel there will be strong concerns that Reiff's days as a reliable starter are over. I would potentially be interested in the Broncos signing Reiff maybe as a reserve tackle, but I feel there are way stronger starting options for Denver in both the draft and in free agency, again including last year's starter Bobby Massey. A team desperate for a tackle may look to sign Reiff, but while the Broncos do need to find a solution at the right tackle position, they aren't desperate. So I feel quite strongly, actually, that it would be best for Denver to look elsewhere other than Riley Reiff to fill that void. Next up, we have Brandon Shell, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks, so obviously there is familiarity there with Russell Wilson. Now, Shell was a former 5th-round pick by the New York Jets in 2016, and once again, he was primarily a reserve guy in year 1, but he did start 3 games in his rookie season. He took over as the Jets' starting right tackle in 2017, and during his 3 years as a starter in New York, he was among the below-average tier of tackles, posting overall blocking grades of 64.7, 63.7, and 63.6 respectively. Following the expiration of his rookie contract, Shell signed a 2-year $11 million with the Seattle Seahawks and was named their starting right tackle. Shell definitely played better in Seattle than he did in New York. He was way more effective as a run blocker than a pass blocker, however. In 2021, Shell posted a run blocking grade of 69.6, which ranked 38th out of 79 eligible tackles. But he only posted a pass blocking grade of 60.4, which ranked 61st out of 80 eligible tackles. The team who signs Brandon Shell pretty much knows exactly what they're going to get. Competent level tackle play, which seems to be lacking in the NFL. Brandon Shell is not amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but he will at least hold down the forward at right tackle temporarily while you find a long-term solution at that position. Unfortunately, injuries have been a common issue with Brandon Shell. He's never played a complete season in his entire career. In 2021, he was limited to only 10 games for Seattle due to ankle and shoulder injuries, as well as a stint in the league's health and safety protocol, because I don't want YouTube to tag this video. Shell is going to be entering his age 30 season in 2022, and Pro Football Focus has him projected to earn $6.25 million next season. Shell would be far from the first option for the Denver Broncos. He could be a potential fail-safe option, but I don't see him lasting that long on the open market. Competent tackle play is hard to come by, so some team will gladly play... Competent tackle play, again, is hard to come by, so some team will gladly pay Brandon Shell market value to plug him in and play right tackle for him. For a team like Denver, however, who is actively looking for a long-term solution at the right tackle position, Brandon Shell simply does not fit that mold. Next up, we have Dennis Kelly, formerly of the Green Bay Packers. Now, Kelly was a former 5th-round pick by the Philadelphia Eagles in 2012. He started 10 games as a rookie for Philly, but he was then relegated to a reserve role for the remainder of his time there. Kelly was traded to the Tennessee Titans prior to the 2016 offseason, where he remained in a reserve role for them until the 2020 season, where he was thrust into starting action due to off-the-field concerns by their first-round rookie right tackle Isaiah Wilson. Wilson ended up completely busting out of the NFL, leading Dennis Kelly to start all 16 games at right tackle for Tennessee in 2020, along with the playoffs. Kelly was serviceable, posting an overall blocking grade of 65.9. He then signed a one-year deal in the 2021 offseason with the Green Bay Packers, where he worked under new Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett and offensive coordinator Justin Outen. Kelly began the season once again in a reserve role, but an injury to Billy Turner thrust him into the starting lineup for the final 5 games of the regular season, and then an injury to David Bakhtiari forced Turner to take his spot at left tackle and Kelly to start their playoff game at right tackle. In 5 games with the Packers, Kelly posted solid grading overall. He finished the season with 73.6 and 71.2 pass and run blocking grades respectively. Kelly is definitely someone who could draw interest from the Denver Broncos given his familiarity with Hackett and Outen. Kelly will be entering his age 32 season next year, and Pro Football Focus has him projected to earn $1.5 million next season. Kelly was brought in by the Broncos under their previous coaching regime, of course, last season prior to him signing with the Packers for a tryout. The Broncos ended up signing Bobby Massey from that group. The Broncos may be willing to bump up the salary a tad and perhaps bring in Kelly to compete for the starting role. He is basically going to command the same amount of money as Bobby Massey, so the Broncos will have a decision to make. Perhaps Hackett and Outen will prefer Kelly due to his experience in their system, and they are maybe going to want to roll with him as their cheap veteran option over Massey. I would definitely say Kelly is a name to keep an eye on for the Denver Broncos. Finally, on the list of free agent tackles the Broncos could look into signing, we have Chuks Okorafor, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, Okorafor was formerly a 3rd-round pick by the Steelers in 2018, and he had played in a reserve role in the first 2 seasons, starting 4 games for them during that time. In the 2020 offseason, Okorafor was in competition with Zach Banner for the Steelers' starting right tackle spot. Banner ended up winning the job, but unfortunately he tore his ACL in the 2020 season opener, thrusting Okorafor into the starting lineup at right tackle. Okorafor had a pretty rough go of it in 2020, posting a 57.4 overall blocking grade, which was near the bottom of the league, ranking 70 out of 79 eligible tackles. Due to delays in Zach Banner's rehab, Okorafor was once again thrust into the starting lineup for the Steelers. He started 17 total games for the Steelers in 2021, including their wild-card loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. In those games, Okorafor began to show steady improvement, posting a 61.1 pass blocking grade, good for 58th out of 80 eligible tackles, as well as a decent 65 run blocking grade, good for 52nd out of 79 eligible tackles. Okorafor is poised to enter free agency just prior to his age 25 season as a commodity whose stock is rising. Pro Football Focus has Okorafor projected to sign a 4-year, $50 million deal this offseason for an annual earnings average of $12.5 million. Although Okorafor did show improvement over the course of the last season, I still feel that is quite the commitment for a player who has only had 1 season of solid production, And even then, Okorafor was still a below-average tackle last season. Granted, he was blocking for the corpse of Big Ben last season, who had no mobility to speak of, so do with that what you will. I do feel that there is a GM out there who will make that investment in Okorafor, mostly due to his age, but I feel that $12.5 million is a bit too rich for Denver's blood, as Okorafor does come with quite a few question marks. So here I have two tackles that the Broncos may look to target in the trade market, and the first name on this list is La'el Collins of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Collins was signed by Dallas as an undrafted free agent in 2015 out of LSU. He found his way into the starting lineup midway through his rookie season at left guard. He played pretty well at that spot and was able to retain that starting role entering the 2016 season. Unfortunately, Collins only played in 3 games in 2016 before suffering a season-ending toe injury. Entering the 2017 season, Collins was named the Cowboys' starting right tackle, replacing the retired Doug Free. Collins showed consistent improvement at the right tackle position as the years went on, and he soon began to establish himself among the top right tackles in the NFL, particularly as a run blocker. In 2020, Collins posted an overall blocking grade of 86.4, which was good for 5th out of 81 eligible tackles. 2021 was a bit of a roller coaster for Collins, as he was suspended for 5 games in the early part of the season for violation of the league's substance abuse policy. When Collins returned from his suspension, however, he was not given his starting role back right away, as second-year player Terrence Steele was playing well for Dallas in place of Collins. Injuries to the Cowboys' all-pro left tackle Tyron Smith forced Steele to be moved to left tackle to take his place, allowing for Collins to reclaim his starting spot at the right tackle position. Collins was an above-average pass blocker in 2021, posting a 74.3 pass blocking grade, which was good for 28th out of 80 eligible tackles. However, he remained one of the league's elite run blockers, posting an 89.7 run blocking grade, which was good for 3rd best out of 79 eligible tackles. The Cowboys are entering the 2022 offseason with salary cap issues, which are going to get even worse as the years go on. According to NFL insider Ian Rappaport, the Cowboys are having active trade conversations regarding Collins. However, if you look at Collins' contract, as things currently sit, it makes way more sense to move him post-June 1st rather than pre-June 1st. If Collins were traded or released pre-June 1st, the Cowboys would only save $1.3 million, while incurring a $14 million dead money penalty. So obviously that makes no sense for Dallas if your goal is to clear cap space. However, if Collins were traded or released post-June 1st, the Cowboys would save $10 million while only incurring a $5.25 million dead cap hit. Perhaps Collins could agree to restructure his deal to facilitate a trade, but I don't really see that happening. Another possibility is that Dallas could get the trade partner to agree to pay some of Collins' guarantees to facilitate the trade. I could see this happening if there were a team that was really coveting Collins. I could see the Denver Broncos falling into that category, as I feel what Collins brings as a run blocker would fit nicely in what Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett and offensive coordinator Justin Outten want to do. Collins is going to be entering his age 29 season next year, so he will probably bring you at least 3 to 4 years of quality tackle play. I do feel the market is going to be strong for Collins, but even after the Russell Wilson trade, the Broncos have the draft capital and the money to acquire Collins. So I do feel that George Paton has at least called the Cowboys to inquire about La'el Collins. Finally, we have a player where it would be a reunion on a couple of different levels in Billy Turner of the Green Bay Packers. Turner was a former Bronco who also played under Nathaniel Hackett, Justin Outten, and new Broncos offensive line coach Butch Barry in Green Bay. Turner was a former 3rd-round pick by Miami in 2014 out of North Dakota State University. Now, Turner started 12 games for the Dolphins in 2015 at right guard, where he didn't fare very well, posting a 55.1 overall blocking grade, which ranked 76th out of 83 eligible guards. Turner was waived by the Dolphins midway through the 2016 season, and after a brief cup of coffee with the Baltimore Ravens, Turner was claimed off waivers by the Broncos. Following a 2017 season spent mostly on injured reserve, Turner was able to carve out a role for himself for the Broncos in 2018. Turner displayed nice versatility, being able to play both guard and tackle, so he was our main swing guy entering the 2018 season. Injuries along the offensive line forced Turner into starting action at both right tackle and left guard in 2018. Turner played pretty well in 2018, posting an overall blocking grade of 64.4 in 11 starts. Despite an effort to retain Turner, the Broncos were unable to keep him in the building, and he signed a 4-year, $28 million deal with the Green Bay Packers in the 2019 offseason, where he was named their starting right tackle. Since his arrival in Green Bay, his play has consistently been among the middle of the pack in blocking grades for tackles. During his tenure in Green Bay, Turner has seen time at both left tackle and right tackle, so he can essentially play every position along the offensive line except for center. Although Turner did miss 4 games in 2021, he brought his usual consistent play when he was healthy. In 2021, Turner posted a solid pass blocking grade of 69.3, which ranked 43rd out of 80 eligible tackles. Although Pro Football Focus viewed Turner as a below-average run blocker, with a grade of 60.5 ranking 60th among 79 eligible tackles, scheme fit obviously wouldn't be an issue here, as Turner has played well in this exact scheme for 3 years in a row. The Green Bay Packers are known to be trying to clear cap space this offseason to be able to fit the Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams contracts in their books, as well as have a bit of cash to play with to bring other guys back. Turner is scheduled to count nearly $9.2 million against the cap for Green Bay in 2022, and that may be a position where Green Bay may want to get younger and cheaper, and as a result, Turner may become a cap casualty. If the Packers are looking to potentially move Turner, it would make the most sense for them to do so post-June 1st. Turner has 1 year remaining on his deal. If he were traded or released post-June 1st, Green Bay would save $6 million while eating $3.1 million in dead money. Should Green Bay elect to move him, expect Denver to be in play for Turner, as he does have familiarity with some of the coaching staff, plus he has familiarity with the Broncos organization, although it's mostly new people in charge since he was last here. With only a $6 million price tag, Turner would bring very solid play for an overall cheap price. I would definitely keep an eye on Billy Turner as we get closer to June 1st. There are definitely a couple of guys on these two lists that the Denver Broncos may be interested in bringing in to fill the right tackle position. I feel that La'el Collins, Billy Turner, and Dennis Kelly probably rank towards the top of that list. Of course, another route the Broncos may go is the draft, as this draft is chock full of offensive tackles, but more on that in a future video. I'm curious, Broncos country, how would you approach the right tackle position if you were General Manager George Paton? Would you look to bring in one of the guys on this list, or perhaps would you dip your toes in the draft? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'd really love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like on it. I would really appreciate it. If you have any thoughts or opinions that you would like to add, please be sure to leave them in the comments section below. I would really love to hear from you. And please be sure to give me a follow on Twitter at Gage Madrid NFL for more coverage of our Denver Broncos as well as the NFL in general. And for now, this has been another episode of the Sparkin Over Broncos podcast, the show where we spark conversation about our Denver Broncos. I am your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.